Good evening, everyone. Am I clearly visible and audible to you? Tisha, can you see and hear me clearly? Please respond. All right, great. So, my name is Mayank Agarwal, and we are going to discuss two very specific topics today. Okay, sorry, that is fine. Okay, guys, can you see and hear me clearly? We have someone by the name of Catty. Can you see and hear me clearly? All right. We're going to wait for a couple of minutes. Let's wait for a minute or two and let the other people join in. Catty, is that your real name? Or just curious? Okay. Catherine. All right. Thank you so much for the information, Catherine. I'll call you Catherine, right? Thank you. Let's wait for a minute or two and then we start. Another minute, guys, and then we will start the discussion. Just a minute more. Sorry for the delay, guys. Some of the people have not yet received the link, so we will just start in a minute. All right, guys. So let's start the discussion. My name is Mayank Agarwal, and we are going to discuss two very specific topics today: vocabulary and reading skills. So, the idea is that by the end of the session, we learn a few reading skills so that the next time you sit down to read something, especially in RC, you know how to approach reading, and you also can put your vocabulary improvement plans into action. So you have a fair idea as to how you should go about improving vocabulary. That is the very specific agenda for the discussion today. I'm going to start with reading skills. And reading skills, as you guys already know, are very important from an RC perspective for sure. So, first things first, guys, are you in the habit of reading? Do you read frequently as of now? A quick Y for a yes and an N for a no. Okay, so Catherine, how frequently do you read and what do you read? A book once in 3 months. All right, novels, great. So you are somewhat in the habit of reading short stories, great. So perfect. Now I want to start from the other perspective. Whenever a particular question is asked, whenever a test setter gives us a certain question, that question is there to test us on something. So even when you sit for the interview, the panel asks you questions. Those questions are there to test you on something. Whenever we start preparing, if you can understand what is being tested, your preparation can have a much better direction. So, in your idea, what gets tested in a reading comprehension? What do you guys think gets tested in a reading comprehension? Understanding, yes, definitely yes, Catherine. What else gets tested? What do you think? Right, guys. Every question type is there to test you on a certain skill. In the verbal section, a number of questions like reading comprehension, sentence rearrangement, para completion, all of these test you on your reading skills. When I say reading skills, how comfortable you are while reading. When you read something, how much of it do you understand? Now, when we talk of reading, there are two things that are generally inversely proportional to each other: speed and understanding. If I go for a higher speed, understanding is compromised. If I read for understanding, your speed gets compromised. So, what do you think is more important, speed or understanding? Raghav, Catherine, both of you, guys, what do you think is more important?
Understanding.
Understanding. And do you agree that speed gets compromised when we read for understanding?
To an extent, yes.
To an extent, definitely yes. Right. So, what we are now going to do is we are going to look at a couple of examples wherein I will try to discuss with you guys how we should read for relevant information in the passage. When we are talking of reading skills, it's important you are able to figure out what is relevant and not be distracted by unnecessary information. We are going to do that with the help of a small passage. Are you guys in the mood of reading one? And then
Yes,
let the
sir.
discussion move forward? Right, great. So I'm going to share a very small RC passage with you. The RC passage is three small paragraphs, one paragraph on one slide. I'll share one slide at a time. Once you have read the slide, type in a Y in the chat box. I will move on to the next slide. After the three paragraphs, you just have to tell me what you think is the main idea, the main point in the RC. A question that appears in almost every RC. So let's do that, guys. This is the paragraph. Please start reading. Type in a Y once you're done reading this. I move on to the next slide. Please start. Catherine read it? Okay. Let's look at the last paragraph now. Please type in what you think is the main idea of this passage. All right, Raghav, great. Catherine, what do you think? Okay, so here is how we could have read this passage. Right, Catherine? Point taken. Let's see how we can read a passage like this. The idea is that so far you guys must have been reading for pleasure. So you feel like reading something, you pick it up and you start reading. Henceforth, your objective is very different. You are reading to score well in an exam. So we need to be able to figure out better ways of reading something. Okay, so you start reading, and the first word you come across is traditionally. The moment you read this word, a thought should strike you that the author is going to talk about something that used to happen. And when an author does this, he mostly contrasts it with something that happens today. So just by reading this word, the thought process in my head should be he's going to talk about something that used to happen and probably contrast it with something that happens today. Traditionally, he talks of the first mover advantage. Then he says, today, however, however is a word which represents contrast. So today, it's about developing integrated approaches for success. So today it is about developing integrated approaches. With this understanding, I move on to the next paragraph. And in the next paragraph, the author is talking of VCR and VHS, which is nothing but an example. And the moment you come across an example, you can read at a faster pace because examples are never the main idea, guys. Examples are always there as the supporting statements. So think about how you converse with the people around you. You talk of a general idea and then you give examples to support your point. While reading, our first objective is to figure out the main point the author is trying to make. I want to be able to do that quickly without compromising on reading. The point I'm trying to make, guys, something that I think we should and must keep in our minds is that not all lines are created equal in an RC. A mistake most of us make is that we give equal importance to all the lines in an RC. Guys, when we talk of reading skills, it is a skill to identify where to read slowly, where to pace up. That is the skill. So the point is, whenever you come across any examples, any statistics, all of that is supporting information. You don't really need to read it slowly. You can just skim through the entire thing. With that, you move on to the third paragraph and you see the example is being carried forward. So the main idea is that it's about developing integrated approaches for success today. The next two paragraphs are simply the examples. You could have read those at a much faster pace. The first paragraph should have been read a little slowly with a lot more concentration. The skill is in identifying where to speed up, where to slow down. Does this make sense, guys? Do you relate to what I am saying? All right, great. Now, as a general rule, guys, as a starting point, what we need to do is, you see, everything, in the verbal section, and then when we talk of the personal interviews, group discussions, those stages, it is commonsensical, guys. It's like if we apply our common senses, if we trust it, uh, we don't even need anyone to tell us things. How do we structure an argument? We first tell the person, this is what I am talking about. Then we give reasons for our belief. So I say India is going to win the match. Then I tell you because of this. So how we need to approach it is read the first paragraph slowly. The first paragraph is important because that is where the author tells us what he is going to talk about. The middle paragraphs are generally an elaboration. It could be something like examples, statistics, supporting statements, basically. So you can read that at a faster pace. The last paragraph is where the author generally gives his final verdict. So you should read the last paragraph again a little slowly, because that is where you understand what is the stance of the author. So as a general rule, guys, read the first and the last paragraphs slowly. The middle paragraphs you can pace up. So, and all of this takes a little time. It takes a little awareness. So the next time you're reading, you come across an example, you skim through it. And that is why it is my request, guys, if you wish to improve in the verbal section, practice and all is fine, but it is very hard to do without a habit of reading. So the first request to all of you, cultivate a habit of reading. Read at least 45 minutes a day. The rest of the things get taken care of. All right. Uh, shall we talk about another reading skill, another problem most of us face before we move on to the vocabulary part?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share just one slide. That slide has two paragraphs, and all we are going to do is figure out what is the main point of the author in that passage. Very simple again. Okay, just read these two paragraphs, guys, and please type in what you think is the main point. Please go ahead. So what do you think, guys? Right, Catherine. Raghav, what do you think? All right. Fair enough. Now, did you guys notice that you guys took a slightly longer amount of time to read this passage. These are just two small paragraphs, one slide, and that is in part attributable to the kind of words we have on the screen. Let us see how we can train ourselves to read something like this. While reading, we have to be very aware of the structure of the passage. How is the author structuring his writing? Okay, so we start reading, and this is what generally happens. This is how we generally read. We start reading and we say 2 points of convergence between Plotinian philosophy and Byzantine aesthetics. Now, the moment I come across these words, Plotinian philosophy and Byzantine aesthetics, I have a sort of an impression, mental impression, that this is going to be slightly complicated. And by the time I'm reading the second line, I already have this mental impression that this is a slightly complicated RC. Then I read it and I read the first point concerns, and I come across all of these difficult sounding words. And generally, the impression is that I'm not exactly understanding what the author is saying. So, with this input, I move on to the second paragraph. And then we talk of the second point. It happens with most of us. See if it happens to you. Does it happen to you guys, Catherine and Raghav, to an extent?
Yes, sir.
Right, right. So you see how difficult sounding words are there to distract us. That is what the test is, guys. Please understand, an average, a simple RC, every average student is able to solve. How do you filter 95 score from a 99 score? You give something complicated and you see who has the skill to move past it. Let's see how we can read something like this. So you read, you see 2 points of convergence between A and B. So this is how I read it. I read it as 2 points of convergence between A and B. The names are not important to me. The next line, the first point concerns this. And then you have a colon. Now, whenever you have a colon, guys, you must have seen colon is always there when you have a list of things. The following must be done, and then you have a colon, and then there is a list. Colon gives a list, or it is simply an elaboration of the point mentioned previously. Which means when I talk of a reading skill, you don't really need the material after colon. You don't really need to read it word by word. It is simply a list. There is clear affinity between the views of all of these people. What happens to an average student, to most of us, we read each and every word of these carefully, thinking these are important, and end up wasting precious time in the bargain. It is as simple as this: 2 points of convergence between A and B. The first point concerns this, then the second point concerns this. This is the structure. This is what the author is trying to do. 2 points of convergence between two things, mentions the first point, mentions the second point. Catherine, you were correct. You were correct by and large. So the skill, the thing that I'm interested in is, we took slightly longer than we should have because we were not really aware and we allowed ourselves to be distracted by such names. The idea henceforth, guys, whenever you come across lists of things, ignore those. You don't really need those. Whenever you come across difficult sounding words, for the sake of understanding, substitute those words with letters A and B, and you will see your understanding improve largely. Again, this is about training your minds. It takes a little while, but it's a very powerful and effective technique to understand and be more accurate while reading. Making sense so far, guys? Before I make any further comments, any questions, any queries?
No, sir.
All right, great. So this is one of the things, guys. My request is henceforth, whenever you read out for the important information. And when we practice RCs in classes, when we read material in classes, you will understand how to approach a question, how to solve, when you look at the options, which is the relevant part in an option that decides the answer. So that in itself is a skill, though that is the idea. Right. We'll talk about reading skills in a while if time permits. Before that, we are going to discuss vocabulary now. And even before that, I am just going to brief you on the uh, role of a trainer in today's day and age. So when I talk of bullseye, why bullseye and stuff like that, that's fine. Uh, so let me just quickly brief you on this. It is obviously the number one test portal as ranked by Alexa. This is what I am interested in, guys. You all already must be aware of, so many successful candidates. That is all okay. What I am generally interested in is, do we understand how the role of a trainer has shifted? So when I talk of the last point on this, one-to-one faculty interaction. Now, when I was a student, guys, a different kind of knowledge, a different way of teaching was needed. So at that point in time, if I could name the capitals of all the states in the country, I could impress people. That kind of knowledge was relevant, that made a difference. Today, because of Google, such knowledge has become largely irrelevant. I cannot really give you any factual knowledge. You Google it and you tell me better than I can tell you. Same for vocabulary. I give you a meaning, you give me 10 other synonyms of it. That is what Google does. The role of a trainer is very different. It is about understanding where the student is currently, and all of us are different in that sense. All of us are different, have different strengths and different weaknesses. Understanding a student's current position and taking or helping him get to the next level. And for that, guys, something that I believe in is one-to-one faculty interaction. Unless I sit down with you and hear your story, know what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, it's very hard for me to help you get to the next level. A generic gyan isn't really helpful as such. So one-to-one faculty interaction is very important. I would say if and when you join the course, you must seek interaction with faculty members. They are experienced people, they've done it, they know, they interact with people who are doing it, so they can help you get to the next level. Okay, so this is all fine, guys. Most of this I believe you already know. We are one of the best when it comes to education. All right, the final point on this is attempting mock tests. Something that I find students not taking seriously. When I talk of being serious about taking an exam, identifying your weaknesses is your responsibility. And mock tests help you do that. Have you ever wondered, guys, why most of the entrance tests are time based? There are generally more number of questions than the amount of time to solve them. Why do you think that is, guys?
To test how we handle ourselves under pressure.
One of the things, Raghav, absolutely correct. What else could it be?
Analyzing the important aspects of the exam in which there's a scope for scoring better.
Yes, yes, perfect. Guys, because most of us are soon going to enter professional courses, so we will have decision making roles. If you sit down to take any test and you have unlimited time, I think you can solve almost all the questions. That's no big deal. Attempting a test in itself is an art. So I'll share with you guys a very personal example. I was preparing for CAT and I used to be hell scared of geometry. So CAT used to have a number of questions on geometry. I was very scared. I took a mock test and the score wasn't that great. I was obviously very dismayed and I sat down with my mentor. I said, "Sir, how do I improve?" And he looked at the analysis of my mock test and he saw on one of the questions in geometry, I had spent over 4 minutes and I got that question incorrect. And this is when there was only a month to go for the actual test. So he said, "What is this? Why did you spend these 4 minutes on this question?" I said, "I tried solving it, I couldn't solve it." And then I said that geometry scares me. So he told me something which overnight lifted a burden off my shoulders and it improved my scores. He said, "You're not understanding what is the objective of the test, how to take the test." He said, "At this stage, you don't even need geometry. You don't even need to solve a question on geometry. You don't even need to know a concept in geometry. All you need to do is understand how you are going to manage when faced with a question on geometry." So he said, the next mock test, your objective is the moment you see a geometrical figure on the screen, scroll on to the next question. Do not spend more than 1 second. So maybe this sounds very normal to you guys, but to me, that was enlightening at the time. I didn't have this concept. And my score improved by 10 percentile points, guys. It wasn't that great at the time. 10 percentile points just by learning, sitting with him, how to take the test. So, all of these tests are time based because they are not testing you only on your concepts, they are testing you on your ability to identify, to take decisions, on your maturity. Are you matured enough to decide which questions to mark, which not to attempt? Do you know how to prioritize? Some of the students I interact with are too egotistical, they get stuck with a question. So, all of these things you can only identify and get better at when you take mock tests. So, my request to you, whether you take guidance or not, attempt mock tests. That helps you identify your weaknesses and you become better automatically. How to analyze a mock test is in itself a topic for discussion. We'll do it some other day. Most of us analyze tests incorrectly. That in itself is a pain point. All right, guys. Now on to vocabulary. Have you guys been working on improving vocabulary? Catherine and Raghav, so far, have you been doing it?
Yes, sir.
Raghav, how are you doing it? I mean, what do you do to improve vocabulary?
So I read 2 books a month.
Okay, so you must be looking up a few words, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you able to recall most of the words that you come across the next time you see those words?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Uh, For vocabulary, guys, most of us have the intention of improving vocabulary. Some of us just do not know how to do it. So the starting point isn't there. There are two things that are very helpful. You can pick either of the two. The challenge with vocabulary generally is not being able to recall words. So let us say we discuss 15 new words in the class today. By next week, you will be able to recall only 8 to 10 of those. The others you will forget. For vocabulary, guys, revisiting the words is very, very important. You have to befriend the words. What do we do with our friends? We stay in touch. So you need a system wherein you can stay in touch with the words. How do you do it? One of the ways is, anyways, you guys are going to read daily. I request you to read daily for at least 45 minutes a day. So one of the ways is, while reading, just keep underlining the words, the meanings to which you do not know. Once you are done reading, pick any 4 to 5 words, any 4 words, look up their meanings and note them down in a notebook along with the sentence. It doesn't take more than 10 minutes. Then next day onwards, just glance through those set of words once in a while. Then those words become a part of your vocabulary. Then the next time, even when you are sitting down to write something, those words start flashing in your memory. One of the things, so you need a system wherein you revisit the words. The other could be, you will get books like Vocab Builder, which has word lists. So there are multiple word lists of something like 40 words each. So what some of the successful students have done in the past is, let us say at night you go through a word list, spend about 15 to 20 minutes just going through those 40 words, revise that list once or twice the next day with concentration. And then maybe once a week you revise a word list. You keep doing one word list at a time, and very quickly your vocabulary improves. The idea here also is the same. It is revisiting the words. If you stop being in touch with words, you start forgetting them. So for vocabulary, guys, so basically I'm requesting you guys to do just two things. One, cultivate a habit of reading. Two, work on vocabulary 10 to 15 minutes a day at least. Go through the words on a regular basis, revisit the words. The rest of the things, guys, there is enough practice, enough of concept building, everything is there. So rest of the things get taken care of. But I will not give you any false hopes. If we are not reading, we are compromising on our scores. It's as simple as that. All right, guys. Any questions, any queries so far?
No, sir.
All right, it's been a bit of a monologue, I believe, but I do request you guys to do these few things. Finally, guys, this is what we can do. You get, if you join the course, this is something like live lectures, you already know. So there are a number of, just a minute. So live lectures wherein you interact with the faculty members and your fellow students. So that in itself is very beneficial. Mock tests, then one-to-one interaction, something that I believe you must take the advantage of. A number of recorded videos, because every time you will not be in a position to attend the lecture, could be some other commitment that comes up. So recorded videos, doubt discussion groups. So there is a Telegram group, you post your doubts and you can have a discussion on that. Then personal interviews and essay writing. To essay writing definitely is one of the things that is picking up for most of the colleges now. So these two things will get taken care of. This is the team, guys. This is where I am. I used to be slightly thinner at the time the photograph was taken last year. Now due to lockdown, I've gained weight. This is the team, guys. Verbal trainers. Pranav sir, Preeti ma'am is the quantitative trainer. So you'll meet us once we interact. This is obviously year on year. This is the list of candidates who've been successful. People scoring all India ranks. This is Jasmine, elite all India rank 1. Hemasima, Shubham, Shriya, very good student. Rushil, Riddhi, and obviously you could be that is the idea basically. So get to be the next. This is something that I would urge you guys to do. One-to-one video counseling session. So that when I talk of one-to-one interaction, you could have a number of doubts, a number of queries. So I would request you guys, it's absolutely free. Go in for a one-to-one video counseling session, have a discussion, and get your doubts clear. All you have to do is just drop a line on WhatsApp at the number given on the screen, or you can register at the link that is shared with you. You just drop a line and the team will get back to you. This is for a free one-to-one video counseling session. That is it from my side, guys. Anything that you guys wish to share or have any query or doubt before we wind up, guys? All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the patience, guys. I wish you all the very best. Have a good rest of the day. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Raghav.